And now, Legal Perspective with Nick Clekis.
Whether it's a slip at a hotel or a tour excursion gone wrong, many travelers don't realize how complicated things can get when you're hurt on vacation. Nick Clekis, owner of Clekis Law Firm, is here with what you need to know if you're injured while traveling. Nick, thank you so much for being here with us today.
Thank you for having me.
Can you explain what rights and protections tourists have if they're injured while they're traveling?
So, are you talking about tourists here in South Carolina or traveling abroad out of South Carolina?
Let's start with South Carolina.
So, South Carolina provides the same protections as we talked about in one of the other segments, premise liability. Mm-hmm. Are you hurt at a merchant's? Are you hurt somewhere? South Carolina applies the lex loci, the place of the accident. So, if you're from Ohio or wherever you come from and you're injured here, you need to bring your case here, you need a lawyer here, everything has to be done here. So when you go back home, that's what creates the problem, because then insurance companies don't really want to pay you and you don't really want to come back here to litigate it. And so oftentimes these things really get to be a problem.
Yeah. What if you're injured internationally?
That's another program. Mm-hmm. So, it's recommended that you get travel insurance because that can cover some of the medicals, but the protections aren't there. So, one of the stories, one of the lawyers that used to work for me, her aunt went to Mexico, went parasailing, the clasp disconnected, she parasailed into the side of a building and was killed.
Oh my goodness.
Absolutely no recovery, nothing you could do.
Yeah.
And then I go to Greece all the time, and when I was younger, what they do in Mykonos, on the island of Mykonos, they rent little scooter bikes, little motorcycles. And they actually have a chalkboard in some of the places of how many accidents they have a day of Americans that are like driving off cliffs, and
wow.
And it's like funny to them because people are drinking and doing all this crazy stuff, and no insurance, no protections, no rights of recovery. So vacations are one of the most difficult things because you're doing stuff out of your comfort zone, you're drinking, you're partying, you're trying activities you may never have tried before, yeah. And then you have these outfits that may have no insurance, not quality equipment, scuba diving, whatever it is, yeah. And what happens if you get injured or you're killed?
And now you mentioned travel insurance. Does that offer protections?
Travel insurance is actually a pretty good thing to get because it's fairly inexpensive. Like if you go through AAA or somebody like that, and it will provide cancellation, you can get your money back. It'll provide medical treatment, it'll provide lost luggage stuff. It does a lot of things, but the main thing is that if you have a catastrophic injury and end up in a hospital, it can provide decent coverage for not a lot of money.
So when you mentioned getting hurt in, let's say Greece, for example, is there a place that we can go to find the regulations or the rules before we go to a place to make sure that we cover our butts, and just in case something happened, this is how they run things? Would you recommend that?
Always check with the State Department before you go anywhere, especially parts of Mexico where there's really bad areas and you see tourists getting killed and stuff. Yeah. Check with the State Department and see what level of caution is for that area. U.S. Embassy is always a possibility. If you get injured, you can go to the U.S. Embassy for help. Okay. But the whole idea is prevention. You want to take those prophylactic measures to make sure that you don't get hurt to begin with. Check the outfit that you're using for the activities. Are they insured? Do they have a good reputation? Google them if you can. I mean, do whatever you can to kind of protect yourself before you get involved.
And one last thing I want to ask you about. So when it comes to insurance, do insurance companies treat out-of-state tourists differently when it comes to these claims?
They would like to tell you they don't, but just as a practical matter, if you're injured in South Carolina and you're from California, the chances that you're going to come back here to litigate a fairly minor accident isn't going to happen, so they lowball you. They know you're not going to want to travel back here. So the best thing to do is
call Clekis. Absolutely. 843-9000000. Clekis.com is where you can go. Nick, always a pleasure. We're excited to have you back next week to talk about something a little bit closer to Charleston.
Thanks.
We're back in 2 minutes.
This has been Legal Perspective with Nick Clekis.